Hello everybody.
Next we face Fulham at Craven Cottage for what is about to become a very rare Saturday 3pm kickoff. There's no live UK TV coverage, no Elizabeth line west of Stratford all weekend, but most other services seem okay to the east of London, and the district line will be running, so you may be able to leave at a reasonable hour of the day for once. So, Fulham then. They're having a better than usual season in the league. It appears that the deal they have with Norwich City, whereby the Cottagers and the Canaries swap places every season, has now come to an end. Norwich are clinging to a faint hope that they might make the playoffs, most likely at Millwall's expense. But there is a 4-point gap for them to negotiate at present. However, if Norwich do manage to get through the playoffs, it will mean that they will actually get to play Fulham next season. They should have a cup for that. Fulham are safe enough in 10th place with 39 points from 28 matches. They'll be grateful to have amassed that many points already, as they seem to have taken their foot off the pedal over the last month or so. Their last point came in a 1-1 home draw with Wolves way back on the 24th of February. Since then, they've lost 3 on the spin away at Brentford, 3-2, at home to Arsenal, 3-0, and last weekend away at Bournemouth, 2-1. In between that, they crashed out at the FA Cup at the quarter-final stage in a match that went down in infamy for Mitrovic's shove on referee Kavanagh, which rounded off a mad minute where they let slip a 1-0 lead and had 2 players and their manager red-carded. The repercussions of that mean that Mitrovic will sit this one out, it being the second of what will be at least an 8-match ban, though I understand the FA is seeking a review on that, on the grounds that it's been too lenient. They signed 2 players and brought in a third on loan in January, though Daisy points out that since technically one of those was a conversion of Shane Duffy's loan from Brighton to a permanent deal, she has no intention of counting that as a new signing. That Duffy's loan was turned into a permanent deal was less a reflection of Duffy's standing at Fulham, he's made but 5 appearances since August, and more a pragmatic solution to their need to reduce the number of their players on loan from other Premier League clubs. This enabled them to bring in Arsenal right-back Cedric Soares until the end of the season. Soares has been capped 14 times by the Portuguese, but although he made the 55-man preliminary squad for Qatar, much like Pink Floyd's Rick White, he failed to make the final cut. He's been used sparingly by the Cottagers, making just 2 League and 1 Cup appearances since his arrival. The one proper transfer in was that of Sacha Lukic. The central midfielder arrived for an estimated fee of £8 million from Torino at the end of January. He's a Serbian international, having gained 37 caps for his country. Unlike Suarez, he did actually make it to Qatar and played in all 3 of Serbia's group games, though they didn't hang around too long after finishing bottom of their group, which contained Brazil, Cameroon and Switzerland. He's made 5 appearances for Fulham since the move. With Mitrovic not back at least until May, they may be short of goals. He's got 11 so far, with the next place on the ladder being occupied by Solomon. His form is very recent, with him having scored in 5 consecutive matches in all competitions across February and March. He has been a bit quiet since notching in the defeat at Brentford on the 6th of March. His 5 in a row was apparently the first by an Israeli in English football since the same feat was achieved by Ronnie Rosenthal for Liverpool. Of course, nobody remembers that. Rosenthal is remembered solely for his miss for the Scousers when he latched onto a long ball, took it calmly around the Villa keeper before hitting the crossbar from about 7 yards out of an empty goal. Solomon hasn't done that yet, as far as I'm aware. Let's move on to the wild and wacky world of association football, and there's more financial news this week. Reading have been docked 6 points for failing to stay within the scope of the plan they agreed with the authorities to ensure that they kept on the straight and narrow. It couldn't happen to a nicer club. I well remember their sad attempts to manufacture some sort of rivalry with us, because nobody else could be bothered with them and because Alan Pardew fancied a move up in the world. And also their strange obsession with inflatables, which lasted well after the rest of the world got bored with that 5 minutes of fame. And they're managed by Paul Ince. I'm just annoyed it wasn't more than 6 points. Let's move on to us. Well, that was disgraceful and totally unacceptable. Bizarrely, we looked okay at the start, but we showed all the backbone of your average Premier League referee at Anfield once we'd handed them the first goal, and the second goal, which was awarded after a VAR check. Things might have been a little different had ref Pawson awarded a penalty for the foul on Antonio of the sort that he was quite happy to give outside the box. However, given that he couldn't even get the kick-off right, stopping it for encroachment when there wasn't any and then allowing play to continue when there was, even a limited bit of competency seemed beyond him. It was almost as if our players dragged him down to our level. I'm told VAR looked at the foul on Antonio, which if true is yet another sad indictment of the state of refereeing in this country. If they're still getting those decisions wrong despite having all of the technology in the world, you have to question why. Not so long ago we were promised an investigation into refereeing standards. It's overdue, but one suspects it's just going to end up being the usual cover-up. Not that the visitors needed refereeing assistance, constant though it was. Having worked our way back into the game, the first 25 seconds of the second half undid all that good work. Agerd made a complete mess to hand them the third, and not to be outdone, Fabianski made an even bigger mess of things to give them the fourth. And the speed of his dive for the fifth goal was, well, glacial. Now, I have a habit of sticking it out until the final whistle, however bad things get. The big surprise was that I wasn't alone. Although most had understandably left well before the 4 minutes of the 10 Pawson could have added for time wasting had he added on the time he theatrically pretended to be adding on, had expired. I guess that's one piece of refereeing incompetence that we really should be thankful for. The players need to take a good look at themselves after that. No, not just the players. Everyone in the club from the top downwards needs to look at themselves in the mirror and ask if they've contributed in some way to that apology of the performance. People pay good money to watch that, getting home the wee small hours we work to go to in the following morning, and to serve that up was simply unacceptable. In fact, it was bordering on an insult as bad as any that our owners have foisted on us, and those have been manifold over the years. The last 2 seasons really have been something of an anomaly during the current ownership, and they've served only to paper over the cracks caused by a lack of structure and forward planning, something that the owners' apologists should consider before leaping to their defence. That so-called embarrassment clause is no more. Just go. Now, deadlines being what they are, I have no idea of the injury situation. Nobody put in enough effort to strain anything, though I will concede Antonio's back may have bruises from the constant two-handed shoves he was getting, that now appear to be legal. I'd make wholesale changes anyway, but whether or not Mr. Moyes does remains to be seen. The prediction? Well, if there's no reaction to this, frankly, if the players don't go out after that performance with enough fire in their bellies to go and get a win, we won't deserve to stay up. So with that in mind, I'm going to place the £2.50 that should really be coming straight out at me from the players as part of my season ticket refund for that game. And I'll put it on an away win. Make it 2-1 to us, please, Mr. Winston. Enjoy the game.
We're here in the offices of a Late Late Show with the host of a Late Late Show, James Corden.
Hi.
Big West Ham fan.
Yes. And big knees up Mother Brown, man.
Yeah.
Get on the forum at kumb.com. Come on, you irons.